This podcast of the hour is brought to you by Budweiser, king of beers.
God love Charlie Angus. That Facebook group you saw there is called Fair Copyright for Canada. The man who started it is Michael Geist. Good to see you, man. All right. This new law has not yet been revealed, but there's a lot of chatter about it. Yeah. Why are people so freaked out about this?
Well, there's a strong sense the legislation is going to look a lot like laws that were passed in the United States about 10 years ago. And the experience in the U.S. is such that it's been really negative, had big consequences, negative consequences for consumers, for privacy, even for free speech. And the fear was that's exactly what we were going to get here as well.
So when you say for consumers, you're just talking with people, like, what would be the practical change for them?
Well, what it means is that if you buy a CD or a DVD or even your cell phone, your ability to use some of those things, if they're locked down, would really be restricted. So if you had a CD, say, that was copy protected and you want to listen to that music on your iPod or your iPhone, suddenly you'd find that you're an infringer if you try to transfer the music. Same with a DVD. You buy a DVD, say, in Europe or in Asia, where it's region coded to play only on DVD players in those regions. Yeah. You bring it home, you want to play it, suddenly you're infringing copyright if you want to play it on your own DVD player.
Did the government think they could just put this through and no one would notice?
There's a sense that they certainly felt that nobody would care all that much. You know, the U.S. has been pressuring us for a long time. There's been a few copyright lobby groups that have been pressuring us for a long time. And for whatever reason, I think government didn't really think that people care all that much about copyright. Mm-hmm. But when you start thinking about it, it's really about some of our own personal property, and people care an awful lot about those things.
You know what I wonder is, recognizing this is not a party-specific statement, because not in the only two parties that run this country, the Conservatives and the Liberals, both have a long history of not really acting always in the best interest of the people, but they act in the best interest of the people who are lobbying them and the corporation. And I wondered who is lobbying, because you know this lobby started before the Conservatives took power. They've been pressuring the Liberals as well. Who is asking, that, not just the Americans, but in this country, asking for this to happen?
Well, we've got a number of lobby groups that are largely based in the U.S., but I sometimes describe them as having Canadian camouflage. So you've got the Canadian Recording Industry Association, the Canadian Motion Picture Distributors Association, which, you know, have a Canadian component but are clearly representing largely foreign interests. And they've been very vocal for a very long time about matching some of these U.S. laws.
This isn't done, this copyright deal isn't dead yet. Are they just waiting for it to quiet down and they'll try again? Or do you think there's going to be an actual change?
Well, that's a great question, and one would hope that they would see the outcry that we've seen over the last few weeks, where literally tens of thousands of Canadians are speaking out, and they'd realize that it can't be business as usual. You can't simply mimic whatever they've done in the United States and think nobody's going to notice.
What social activism, like what Facebook and you know, in MySpace, what they have been able to do for this sort of activism?
It's a I think that's perhaps one of the most remarkable aspects of this, because, you know, if you think about it in the old days, so to speak, even just a few years ago, if you wanted to speak out, you might sign a petition, you might tell a couple of friends. Now you can set up a Facebook group and you can galvanize tens of thousands, so that in a matter of weeks, there were thousands of letters going to the Minister of Industry and various MPs. We had rallies in Calgary and just this week in Toronto. People are really exercised about this issue, and Facebook certainly played a key role in bringing that community together.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the media is really not there in the conversation, so nobody knows what's going on, and these Facebook groups, I suppose, help get the information out there.
Well, I think it's true that copyright, to a certain extent, has been viewed as a somewhat dull channel changer subject, but increasingly in the current environment, we all live in a digital world. We live in a world where we're blogging and posting things and on Facebook and doing all sorts of things that actually require us to have enough flexibility in the law so that we can really exercise our free speech and engage.
Well, a lot of people think that part of the reason why this happened this way with the law, with the government and the law getting stopped, at least, was the Facebook group. And I wondered if there's any way to find out how many people just clicked to join or actually knew what they were joining.
And that's a fair comment. I think that even clicking to join is, in a sense, a vote, a small vote. It's not quite as much as going further, but it's pretty clear, even if you take a look at the number of people on that Facebook group who have posted sample letters they've received, sometimes even sample letters they've got back from some of the MPs and the ministers, people who have attended some of these rallies and made phone calls and the like. It's pretty clear that it's not everybody, obviously. Many people are just joining and learning about these issues.
You know what I wonder, man? Because of the way we work in this, especially in this country where you have a prime minister and a leader of the opposition and a leader of another party, they really call the shots. And you don't often get the sense that your local MP is representing you. They tend to have to vote on party lines. And I wondered how many of them really knew what their constituents felt about this issue and kind of got blindsided and went, wait a minute, wow, people actually care, and they can help drive the policy of their particular party.
I think an awful lot got blindsided. I think that, while you get engaged on things like Afghanistan, of course, and healthcare and all of those critically important issues, sometimes the day-to-day things that affect so many of us get overlooked. And I think this is one of those issues that took a lot of people by surprise.
MichaelGeist.ca, your website?
That's right.
Right, you can follow more what this guy's doing, fighting for copyright. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for coming on the program today. Really appreciate that. A lot more to come on the show tonight, and I know this is something that you're going to do on the next Facebook group. Who are the most powerful babies in Hollywood? If you set up, by the way, one other thing on Facebook groups, I'll join his. Don't ask me to join your if 100,000 join, my friend Frank will become a member. We don't want that one, all right? Up next, one of this country's most popular comedians.